X-May the beat. X-May the beat.
I am Black Girl Magic because I am strong.
I'm courageous. I'm a survivor.
I'm unstoppable.
I'm a beautiful Black woman.
I am unique and strong. I am resourceful.
I take things head on.
I believe in myself.
Not afraid to go after what it is that I want.
I am genuine, authentic, a mother.
The most humble person you will ever meet. Beautiful, strong.
Supportive of other Black women.
And I admire, I respect, and support the uniqueness of African American women and all of their dreams.
I wear many hats, as I think a majority of our women do. We have to wear thousands of hats in order to survive.
I believe in everything that I'm a part of.
I'm happy and I enjoy life.
I just like to live full time, and I believe that that's why I am Black Girl Magic.
I wore this shirt because I believe this is who we are. We are fearless.
Welcome to New York.
I store unique aromas, and I sell body oils, burn oils, shea butter. I also infuse my shea butter with a scent because some people don't like it plain. I also sell plain shea butter. I do sugar scrubs and brown sugar scrub and shea butter sugar scrub and oil burners as well.
That is very strong. That is very labor. Yes. Oh, she bringing it? Yeah, I want to smell it. I want me too. Because I like wood. Get a sniff of it. Right.
I believe in my future. I believe not only that I am a survivor, but I've been through so much, and to come out still smiling, to come out still able to want to push forward, to come out loving myself and loving my family and doing the things that, you know, we do together. That makes me Black Girl Magic.
And I think what makes us magical is because no one can ever tell that we're juggling 86 balls in the air, but we are, and we're catching everyone and we're throwing each one back up repetitiously over and over, losing sleep, losing strength sometimes, losing ourselves sometimes, but then somehow one of those balls we catch and it's us, and we're like, oh shoot, I'm still making it. Look at me, hey boo. Then we gotta throw that one right back up because we got the kids we gotta be emotionally sound for, and mentally sound for, and physically sound for, and spiritually sound for. And so I think Black Girl Magic is the ability to juggle a million balls and still catch yours, which has your dreams in it and your goals in it. And once you attain those, all those other balls fall into place. And a lot of times people are watching you and they just don't understand how you're able to do all of that and make it.
I am one of 6 siblings. I am the second oldest girl. And basically you can say I am somewhat kind of like the oldest. I've been responsible for my siblings probably all of my life. And I still believe that I am somewhat. That's just a journey that God has me on. I'm a mother, of 3, and they are the love of my life. My reason for living, the air that I breathe, is because of them. I have done multiple things. I've done makeup, runway, fashion shows. I do permanent makeup as well. I do so many different things in that era. But what has gotten me to that point is that I've had to do all those things. There are other things in life I believe you want to do, but life takes you on a different journey, and I'm not disappointed at all because it's been good to me. But starting off with my childhood, it hasn't been bad. I can't say, when I first decided to do this, I was wondering, I don't have that story that some may have, and I don't want to look down upon. But everybody has their own story.
My story is one of a kind, I think. It's one of a kind, but it's similar to a lot of people. I was born with sickle cell anemia, the gene SS, which is considered the most severe gene of sickle cell anemia. And I was 6 weeks old when my parents found out. I was not supposed to live past the age of 8. In and out the hospital all my life. I smile at it because I believe that God gave it to me. I believe He picked me. He chose me to go through the hurt and pain so I can be a testimony to somebody else, so that someone else can look at their life and be like, well, my life isn't that bad, or, just thank God for the day to day. And not also that I have sickle cell, but I decided at the age of 5, well, my mom actually decided that to put me into modeling. I was a model, but sickle cell got in the way a lot. It destroyed a lot of chances for me, but I also seen a lot. I traveled the world. I did a lot of great things. Every time my doctor said that I couldn't do something, I would prove to him that I could. And when I was in my, younger years, like 17, 18, well, teenage years, he told me, you're never going to be able to have children. You're too sick, and so many things, was going on at the time that I could never have children. So I started having children.
I come from a background to where you would basically stereotype me. And it's because basically, as when I was growing up, I was born into a family with both parents. And my father was physically abusive to my mother. My mom finally had the courage to leave. But once she did turn to drugs. That caused my brothers and sisters and I to be separated at a very young age, which was something that really, it was hard for me because I kind of felt, being the oldest, even though we were stair-steppers, I was more of their mom because of my mom being on drugs, So moving in with my grandparents was one of the highlights of my younger years. To me, my grandparents were like the Huxtables. I mean, they were like the perfect family. It was my grandparents, and I had 2 aunts in the home. And my 2 aunts and one is 2 years, we're 2 years apart, and the other one is just 4 years older. So we grew up like sisters. So again, I was finally in a stable environment. I was in a loving home, very supportive. I had an amazing mom now and an incredible dad and my grandparents. However, my happily ever after was destroyed. My grandfather committed adultery, and he left my grandmother and ended up marrying the other woman, which caused a huge void in my heart. And I will say too, just rewinding back to, even though my father was also physically abusive to my mom, he also was, he cheated consistently as well. And so going back to my grandparents' house, when my grandfather did it again, it left such a void in my heart to where I was completely just hurt. From there, I started dating different guys, and I met a guy, an amazing guy. He treated me so good, respected me. However, I didn't identify with that. And so I met another guy and fell head over heels in love with him. I identified with his kind of love more. He cheated on me all the time. Every chance he got, he cheated on me. And because of my fear of losing him, and because that was my definition of love, I stayed, and emotions just started rising in me like never before. I started to do everything. I started to smoke weed. I started to drink. I was doing everything that was pretty much, I didn't want to do those things, but I was just gearing towards just doing anything to fill these voids. I eventually got pregnant by him, and I had his daughter. And of course, after that, we broke up. But I didn't learn my lesson, because a couple years later, I ran into another guy that I went to high school with. He and I got into a relationship. We fought all the time, and I eventually got pregnant by him. I had his son, and then we broke up. And so I really, really started feeling insecure. I started feeling as if I wasn't worth anything. I was very, very young. I was a young girl. I had 2 children by 2 different men, and I was not in a relationship with either one of them. And so, again, I felt a void, and I just felt as if I wasn't really worthy of anything. And it's just because of listening to people, listening to what people have said to me, and sometimes being around different ladies and can kind of make you feel as if you made some mistakes because of, some choices that you made that they didn't. And so I let that get to me. And I was the type of girl that would always wonder how someone can let another person cause them to have low self-esteem. I always look against that. I'm like, how can you let someone bring your esteem down? But then I was in those same shoes, and I experienced low self-esteem.
I was raised in a 2-parent household, a loving 2-parent household. My mom and dad have been married now for, I think they're going on 40 years, so for a very, very long time. So coming up, I'm the only child. So no sisters and brothers. I still tease them about that today because I think that's so unfair. I still want a sister or brother, but I understand that, along the way, God has given me sisters and brothers along the way. So I'm thankful. So I grew up in a time where Saturday nights were like card parties, listening to old school music, and my parents' friends would come over and play cards or whatever, and kids go watch movie, blah 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 blah, whatever. And so that was a typical weekend, they bowled, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a quote unquote family friend. Long story short, there were times that he would actually spend the night. And there were times that he attempted to touch me. Thankfully, it was not successful. But in a lot of ways, it was. Because I still deal with it today. So even though it may not have gone where it could have gone, it still affects me today. That's something that, again, I've had to deal with over the years, mentally, I don't allow that. I don't feel like, I didn't take a negative turn because of it or anything like that. I didn't take a path that a lot of, people, that's their story. That's not my story. I did not become promiscuous because none of that, but I still dealt with it, and I'm still dealing with it. And I know that that is what causes me with my children, because I have 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys. And my oldest is 20, my youngest is 11, girls. The boys are 17 and 18. But I know that is what why I feel so strongly about having a strong mother-daughter relationship with my girls.
I got married very young. Thought it was the man of my dreams, but turned out that it was not. But he was handsome, he had a good job, he had a nice car, all the things that, I guess you would look for. And we got married, and about a year into it, he started to cheat on me. So I was always the type of person I did not want to get a divorce. I'm gonna fight for this marriage. I'm gonna do everything that I need to do. But after being cheated on several times, he manipulated me, more of a brainwashing almost type of thing. I felt like I couldn't fight any longer. After 5 years on paper, we got a divorce. From there, it became really hard because we had built a house together. We had cars, he had motorcycles, just all the things that people saw, persona. And I didn't want to lose any of that, but I'm like, do you want to be happy? Or do you want other people, other people's opinions of you, see what you have? So I decided to get a divorce. Once I got a divorce, I ended up having to file bankruptcy, foreclose on my home, and I lost my car. So from there, it was tough. It was really a tough thing, having to do all of that. Like I said, people see you a certain way, and even though you shouldn't live your life as, the way people see you, you still don't want to lose all that stuff. So from there, I ended up having to move back in with my parents. So grown woman, 28 years old, living with her parents, and I went through a case of mild depression because of it. A lot of people don't know this, but I was depressed on antidepressants. I started to go back out to the clubs, a little bit of drinking here, smoking there, hanging out, messing with drug dealers, just doing things that just were not in my character.
I was blessed to where I was raised in a middle-class family. We really didn't want for anything. We weren't really poor, and a lot of things that did happen I didn't know about growing up. So I didn't experience tragedy until I became an adult. And my tragedy occurred when, after I got married, I found out that my husband had molested my then 9-year-old daughter. And when she told me that, it was like the whole world just stood still. And I was driving her to softball practice, the very first softball practice of the season. And we were just talking about an argument that my husband and I had, and I was trying to reassure her that mommy and daddy are going to try to make this work. We're going to try to figure this out. He is her stepfather, by the way, but she still referred to him as daddy. And she starts crying, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And I'm thinking it's because she saw us arguing. It's because of what we had been going through. But she said that, daddy had done some things to her, and I was trying to get her to explain what things were. And as the story began to evolve, I realized, this is real. This is really happening. She was actually touched by him inappropriately multiple times. She didn't know a time frame. She couldn't even tell me when it started. And later I found out it was because it was disguised as a game for a while, a game that they would play until I guess she got old enough to realize this isn't right. Something's not right about this. And she finally opened up and told me. And from that moment on, things were just different. I went to work that morning as a married mother with 3 kids who had just started a really good job. And that evening, I became what I would like to call a widow and a single mother. And the reason I feel like I was a widow was because I instantly had to mourn the loss of my marriage and the loss of my husband, because he was not who I thought he was. And I knew I could no longer count on him, rely on him, and that he would no longer be present in my children's life whatsoever. So on the flip side, well, not even on the flip side, basically after that, I took heard of my mother's. I called the cops. We went through interviews and we went through court hearings, and we had to write statements, and she had to be tested for all types of STDs. And I always remember the one that stood out was she had to be tested for AIDS. And it's just a trip when you are waiting on results to come in for your 9-year-old as to whether or not she's HIV positive. That right there was probably the most that's when I knew that it's just not right. She's 9 years old. And and to try to fathom her even becoming HIV positive or have HPV for that matter, which can cause cervical cancer, was just appalling. Because I'm thinking, if you're the type of person to molest a child, of course you're not faithful. Of course you're not loyal to your marriage. So I'm not knowing who he could have been with at that point. But everything was okay. Tommy's results came back clear, and the doctors reassured me that she was physically fine in all ways, and that if they had not have known the story, they would have not been able to tell by her physical that anything had happened. And so we moved on. After the court hearings and all that, and he got sentenced to 2 years, which wasn't that long. She was a little upset about that, but I told her, you can't be the one to give the punishment. That's not for us. We're not here to pass judgment. We're not here to assign the years or the sentencing. We're just here to get justice. We're just here to say, this man did this and he needs to be off the street so that he can't hurt anybody else. And I told her how much of a hero she was, because I'm sure she was not the first victim. And I'm sure that had she not spoken up, there could have been a victim later on in life, one of her friends or anything, and that would have really been messed up, or even her younger siblings. And so I got her the best therapist I could find, who specialized in sexual victims, especially child sex victims. I went to therapy, and I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression at the time, which I didn't think it was that. I clearly thought I was just losing my mind. Like, I thought I was about to go to the loony bin. Excuse anybody who has a mental health issue, but at the time, Black women, we don't like to feel out of sorts. We don't like to feel like we can't adjust and that we can't overcome. So when I felt like I couldn't overcome, something's got to be wrong. Like, they're going to assign me away. I'm never going to be able to see my kids. But no, she said, it's anxiety and depression, and we're going to treat you for that.
Me and my daughter, we was leaving church one day, and my mother called me, because my mother was the treasurer of the church. She was telling me to hurry up and take, the church money to the bank, and it was my aunt's church, so, it was a family church. And so I was backing out, rushing. And I remember telling my cousin, get your books off the ground. Like, I kept telling him that, get your books off the ground. And he brushed me off. And I backed up. And when the car went up, I'm like, oh my God, I'm running over his books. And when the car came down, I seen my cousin, she was jumping, like, oh my God. Like, no, pointing. And I got out, and my baby nephew was right there. So I picked him up. Turned him around. And I knew I messed up. I just ran in the church. Me and my sister, at first my My sister was in disbelief. Everybody started screaming because it wasn't a good sight. So I just held him, and my sister, she jumped in the car. We ran every red light. I was like, no, go over the median. Do what we gotta do to get him to the hospital. And as I was holding him, apologizing, I noticed there was a hole in his head, and I covered it, and I just, just held him, and he died in my arms. No one ever should have to go through that. I messed up, and what made it so bad is the media. The media made a big mess out of it. But a police officer and his wife came. They were the sheriff of the county. And they just held me, I was put on suicide watch. Almost lost it. Even to this day, I struggle with it. I don't know how my sister forgave me for that. I couldn't, I don't see myself forgiving anyone for that. But we're close, like, our bond is much, we've always been close, but our bond is so much closer now. And we celebrate his life. We don't talk about it anymore, though. From the very moment that it happened, she let me know that she wasn't upset. She let me know that I was okay. So I tried to, carry on life, especially that week. Hard time sleeping, hard time waking up in the middle of the night screaming, nightmares, even to this day, really. But I'm surviving it. I'm here for a reason. I took a fistful of pills the day of his funeral, and no one knew. Everybody they knew that I was going through something. I'm not supposed to be here. Like I felt my heart stopping so many times that day. And I was like, to myself, I was like, yes, I can go with him. But God gave me a child right after that, a little boy. And it's crazy because they're almost identical. And my son, my water broke a year later, the same day that he died. And I had my son the day of his funeral. So it's a significance. I feel like God did that for a reason, put those dates there for a reason.
There are so many people out here who deal with mental illness in this world, and there's a stigma. And I don't have, well, we all probably have something. Let me not say that, because we all have something. But I am in the beauty industry, and so I deal with people all day long. And just even depression, ADD, ADHD, narcissistic, schizophrenic, all kinds of things. I see their hurt, and nobody can help them because they won't open up. It's not fair. It's not fair that they're criticized because people want to say they're crazy. Crazy is such a hard, harsh term for somebody who just wants to live. somebody who wants to wake up in the morning and just smile. And I can share this, and I hope that it's okay. But I am a biracial, black and white. My mother is white, my father is black, and color was never an issue for us. I didn't know color until I got grown. I didn't even really know that it existed because our families were so close, which is odd. Excuse me, but I have seen it on both sides of my family in all areas. And I've seen it in many other families. And my Caucasian, my white family, and I hope I can be free to say that, are very openly, and they don't have a problem with getting any help whatsoever. They talk about it. They go and get the help. They live their lives, and they're free. And then I deal with my black family who wants to self-medicate. And they go and they drink, or they smoke, or they go hang out. And then you have black fathers that can't be who they need to be because they can't deal with what they're dealing with inside. When it may be something as mild as disorganizational thought process or something. Just something as mild as that they just won't go get help because they don't want somebody to say they're quote unquote crazy. So for me, this is gonna be my new journey that God has taken me on. This is my so-called new purpose in life that I guess I've known for some time. But I refuse to let the next person feel ashamed. Because truth be told, we all have something. And love is love no matter what. And I believe that there's hope for tomorrow. And we're gonna get through this.
I would first like to thank you ladies for being out and being part of this conversation. I think it's very important that we hear the voices of our black women and their perspective on different issues and things going on in society. So with that said, I'd like to start our discussion off with the question, what is the first step to improving our relationships with each other as black people?
Well, I'd like to answer that. The first step to improving our relationship as black people or black women specifically?
Well, we can start off with the black women and then maybe expound from there.
Okay. Well, as black women, I think that we need to, first of all, see the gifts that we each possess. You know, we need to look past what, we see social media saying about who we are and recognize the beauty that is in each of us and, again, our gifts. Because I think the gift that is within each of us we should embrace that. Yeah. We should embrace that, and we should continue to nurture that in one another and use our gifts collectively and not just for our own agendas.
I believe that because it was instilled in me by one of my first teachers, which was my dad. So it could be anything that he would tell me to do, something simple. But if I told him, Dad, I can't do this, I don't know how to do this, he would always say, if you can't do it anyway. That's something that has stuck with me forever. It's going to always be with me. So I said unstoppable because, in my opinion, it doesn't matter the obstacles that you may have in life or the things that, we have to endure while we live life. It's all about your mindset of how you approach different things in life. Your mindset is what determines your outcome.
I think a lot of times black women, most of the time, we are the matriarchs. And even if there is a husband or a father that's active, we still are kind of the go-tos. And so if we started working more like a community and embrace those old school ways of raising kids, like it takes a village, I think at that point, you would see a tremendous difference in how we all interact and how we can come together and unify, because right now we're all scattered and everybody's trying to, it's a dog eat dog world. So everybody's trying to get their own, everybody's trying to support their own children, uplift their own children. But if we were all in it together, I think that we could overcome a lot of the stereotypes. And
this is true, we've definitely changed.
100%. I was just thinking when she was talking competition, like so many people are here in competition with one another.
Yeah.
And then people would just understand and realize there is enough to go around.
That's right.
Like what God has for me is for me.
Yeah,
so there's no reason for me to be in competition with you. So people will just get that, understand it, support each other instead of trying to fight each other and you know, outdo each other and backstab and all of that. It would be so much better.
when I started pouring into me, I was able to pour back into the kids, and I was able to uplift Tommy and bring Tommy out of that situation. And so here we are 5 years later, and Tommy's on the praise team at church. Tommy does color guard for the school. Tommy is bright. She is spiritual. She is resilient, which is my favorite word ever. Like, she's my hero, because you could not look at her and tell that she was affected or has gone through any type of tragedy in her life.
I was introduced to a network marketing company, and when I got introduced to that company, they do a lot of personal development, and it really helped me to turn my life around. So from there, I started doing the personal development, and I just started focusing on me, learning about me, working on me, and I just forgot everything else. Stopped worrying about guys and all those other things, started focusing on myself. So once I started doing that, things really began to change for me. This was in 2011. So in July of 2011, I met my new husband, who's now my new husband, and we met at church, and it was just like, instantly I felt like it was meant to be. And one thing that really struck me is that when we met, he told me he wanted to wait until he was married to have sex. And it just kind of blew me away, because that's just not something that you find these days. So I was with it, I was all with it. So we dated for 2 years. We got married in 2014. And from there, things had just really been looking up.
What were some of the things that were passed down to some of you ladies that you would like to incorporate in how you raise your families and what you pour into your children? What are some of those values that you held on to that you feel are important to structuring the Black family?
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Oh, spare the rod, spoil the child. Yeah, you're right.
And I really feel like my family, they were real big on that, correction, not abuse.
Right.
It's almost a fine line between abuse and correcting, and chastising. Okay? I'm not gonna slap my child in the face, but I will slap them on the butt. You see, it's a big difference. And I take that with everything, with everything in me. Now, that's not my first. I don't just jump in every time they do something wrong, they get a spanking. No, even my husband said I talk too much. If I can push forward, if God can still allow me to be here, still allow me to pursue my dreams, pursue happiness, then there's no excuse. No matter how hard, no matter how traumatizing the situation is, no matter your tragedy, you push forward and you put God first.
I don't necessarily think that darker skinned people have to work harder, but I feel like we're viewed differently. A lot of times I hear, oh, you're really pretty for a dark skinned girl. Like, that's colorism at its finest. Why can't I just be pretty? Why do I have to be pretty for a dark skinned girl? And then what comes with that is makeup. So it's more of a struggle just with an everyday lifestyle. So makeup, we have to find and struggle to find makeup that makes our color shade, because the darkest that Maybelline or any other, I guess, big retail makeup companies don't come in our shade, or we have to find the right lipstick. It took me forever to figure out the right red to wear, because I was told all my life, you can't wear red lipstick, you're dark skinned, or that pink doesn't look good on you because you're dark skinned. So I feel like it took me a while to just learn how to make myself feel pretty, or what works for me and what doesn't work for me.
Well, not to harp on this subject, because I know that white people hate to hear this, but it came from slavery. I mean, if you were fair-skinned, you were treated better because you were closer to the complexion of a white person. And so they saw you more like them. They were willing to accept you more. And the darker you were kind of outcast. And I also think, and people might not like this viewpoint, but they used Christianity and the Bible a lot to make us feel lower. There's certain scriptures and things in the Bible, lightness versus dark. God is the truth, the way, the light. And I think that some of the wording, because the Bible was man written, hand by man. So it's not that I don't believe in God, I love God. And I actually read the Bible and I love the Bible. But I just think sometimes that wording, people can use it to their advantage. And so if light versus dark, and light is supposed to win, then if you are considered darker complected, obviously you come with some sort of evil. You come with some sort of stigma. You have to be lower because lightness wins. Now, me on the other hand, I disputed the fact that I was light-skinned forever, because the opposite stereotype is that light-skinned women are sedity. We can't fight. We're more quiet. We're classier and conceited. And so in school, I wanted to be brown skinned or dark skinned because I thought those girls were tough, and I felt they had a struggle. And if I want to be like them, because nobody's gonna try me if I'm brown skinned. That's how I felt. I learned that after I was discovered by Tisha, who is the author and playwright and director of this series, that I enjoy acting and I enjoy being in front of the camera. And that was something that was hard to admit for me, because I felt everybody wants to be an actress. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to be a rapper. Everybody's on YouTube. Everybody's got a video. Everybody's got a blog. So I didn't want to follow suit. But I'm like, I'm the bomb in front of the camera. Like, I'm funny. I'm a good promoter. I can promote the hell out of anything. People will come see it. People will come laugh at it. I just gotta get better at promoting myself. I'm my worst critic, like a lot of other women, and I have to get better at promoting me.
All the boys wanted a light-skinned girl. So it was like we was trying to be light-skinned or do something, so that boys would notice us. But I mean, I was a little coward too,
I would have never thought.
I was coward at first, too, because I always thought that light-skinned people could beat up, black. I'm being
really
for real.
Like we had superpowers because we was light.
Yes.
Light girl superpowers. No, we don't have those.
Let me tell you why. I really thought that because it was like I would practice fighting every day in the mirror. But when that and she was so skinny. We both were skinny. But it's like when she used to do this in my face, I would just get cowardly. It wasn't until, because I really felt like, because most of the girls were light skinned. And I don't know how it is, but I used to think if you were light skinned, you would jump me,
Oh, okay.
You would jump me. So it was like, I was like, oh, okay. I'ma just sit back, and it took a while, but that is so crazy that you thought that. And here I am, and I'm young and I'm thinking that you beat me up and you thinking I'm tougher than
deep.
you. That's crazy.
That's
From the hill.
I can definitely relate to Taliba as well as it relates to being light skinned. And I was the same way. When I was younger, I didn't want to be light skinned. And it was because, and I remember a saying, I always used to say to my mom, my cousins, and I always said, dark skinned girls always try to fight me. I said it all the time because it was like all the time in school, because of how I grew up, I was at a different school a lot. I was always the new girl. And I'm telling you, not one school that I went to did not somebody come up to me and say, you think you all that. You think you better. And it's like, and honestly, I promise I didn't. Like, it was nothing. I never thought I was better than anybody. But that's always how they made me feel, as if, because of your skin color, because of your skin tone, that you think you better than us. And it was just weird to me. So that was my situation coming up. I thought dark-skinned girls were just mean, and that was just me because of my personal experience with them. And and I can't say all of them, but majority that I encounter and it's sad because they're always in elementary school,
right?
When you're really young and when things really hurt your feelings and you don't know any better, So I was a little girl just being terrorized in school because I thought I was better then, and I did not at all. I wanted something different. I wanted something more out of life. I wanted my children to be raised in a stable environment. I wanted them, just to feel safe. And I wanted just to be a mom, because of course with me lacking my mom as a young girl growing up, I always, I wanted that. It was just something I really, really wanted. I wanted to go to the malls with my mom on Saturday mornings, and I wanted us to, go to have lunch and, just do things like that mom and daughters do. But because, I didn't get that, I really wanted to give that to my daughter, and I wanted to be a mom, to my son. And so we did. We started just to make different choices. I started going to church, and just started doing things and surrounding myself with different people. And I sit here today to really, really say that I believe my daughter is 17 years old, about to be 18 in December. My son is 13, and they are phenomenal children. I did not allow people to tell me, because sometimes people will say, well, how dare you expect that out of your daughter? You didn't do it. Or why you won't let her do that? You did it, And it's just more of, well, just because I did it doesn't make it right, And so therefore, I wanted to impart wisdom. And one thing that I've learned, and it's something that my pastor says very often, wisdom is the best teacher, not experience. So using wisdom with different situations and explaining your story and being open to your children, letting them know about your mistakes and things. So I will say that my children are phenomenal, and I give God the glory for that. Again, so I started to go to church with a purpose. That's where I'm going. I went with a purpose. And my purpose was, God, I want more of you. I want to know what my purpose is, because I really feel that every one of us was sent to this earth realm with a purpose. And so I wanted to know what mine was.
So some of the stereotypes that we've placed on each other don't come from other ethnicities and groups and cultures. Sometimes it stems from within. And just in these conversations, we can hear that. But how do we move past that as a people? We can't keep placing blame. We have to be the ones to kind of take it somewhere and turn around. So how do we do that? Hearing things like this in a more general aspect, how do we pull ourselves out of those stereotypes and out of those negativities and move forward?
I would say one of the stereotypes amongst Black women is that we all have attitude. And unfortunately, sometimes, you do deal with it a lot. You do run into a lot with the attitudes. And I believe that the way to move forward is, like we spoke about earlier, respect one another, appreciate the uniqueness in each other, and smile. It's okay to smile. Sometimes we walk into a store or something, and I'm a smiler. My nickname and it was growing up was Smiley. I smile a lot, and you will be surprised at how many people say to me, "Why are you always so happy? Why are you always so happy?" And I remember my response to a customer that came in the store. I said, "Would you rather come in and I'm frowning?" Because that's what we're so used to, these frowns and, and when you compliment your sister, it's like, oh my God, it's a shock, that someone complimented me. No, compliment each other. If you like the girl's shoes, tell her shoes bad. If her hair look good, tell her hair look good. Just more of just being unique and walking in confidence, and don't think that sometimes when people walk in confidence, you get mistaken as being arrogant, or you get mistaken as she thinks she all that. No, I'm confident in who I am, and so therefore just be confident in who you are. And as Debria was saying earlier, understand that there's room for everybody out here, and your gift is unique to you. And so therefore, I think, again, the way to get past it, love and appreciate the uniqueness in each of your sisters. I started praying. I joined a church home that was teaching God's uncompromising word. And so instead of me just going to church on a consistent basis, I asked God to help me to apply his word to my life. And so that's what I started doing. I started applying his word. I was there faithfully. Again, going back, I started, surrounding myself with different things. I got involved with ministries and just developed new friendships. From there, so the guy that I told you guys about in the very beginning of the story, the one that I met when I first started dating, that treated me so good, he respected me, is now my husband. So we did reunite after all of these years, and so I'm just excited to be where I am. So basically, when I started praying for my purpose and everything, God revealed to me that he wanted me to write. I've never had a desire to write. This was not my dream. This was nothing that I was just so gung-ho and excited about. Sometimes I know as writers we can say, well, I know when you were little and you probably used to stand in front of the theaters and say, one day I'm gonna be there, and that is not my testimony. That's not my story at all. I never imagined in a million years that I would be a writer. And so basically me being a playwright now, it's just me operating in my God-given assignment. I have also now been hired as the drama director for an organization called Breakdown St. Louis, which is definitely another thing that I feel like I'm being led to do, just pouring into the youth. And just definitely very, very involved in my church where I am. I am a very active member at my church home in St. Charles, Missouri. So I'm just excited. I'm excited about life. I'm excited where I came from and where God is, where I am now and where he's taken me. And I'm just enjoying the ride.
Kind of discuss how we have to work harder at some things, and this is one of them, getting past those stereotypes. So when we think along those lines, do you all feel like there is such thing as a white privilege? And if so, what has been your experience in that area?
All the time. I work in corporate America, and I see it every day, whereas I have a lot of experience in the workforce, and somebody else that's been there for 3 months, how you become CEO or president and you have no skills, you don't even, if I come to you, you can't even answer a question. You don't think I'm smart enough or as educated to hold that same position. And so I get it every single day. And I have to constantly fight and prove myself. Now I don't have to fight and prove myself, because either you're gonna accept me or I'm gonna go somewhere else where they can.
Going back to what's in each of us, because we each have a gift. One thing that I think that we need to do more of is create. Create. That's how we move past that. We're trying to exist sometimes in an environment, no, a lot of times, all the times. We're trying to exist in an environment that's set up against us.
True story.
So what do? We create. Teach our children to be entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Right.
Teach our children to open their own businesses. Because those are the gifts that we possess again. So if we develop what's inside of our kids' minds, they don't have to be an employee.
Exactly. That's true.
They can be the boss, the CEO. That's really what we need to move towards, is creating.
When I was in my first marriage, I actually started my own business. And I will say that's one thing that my ex-husband did do. He encouraged that. Other than that, he didn't really do much more. But he did encourage that. So I've been in business for a little over 10 years. I own my own catering business, Divine Catering and Events. So fast forwarding to today, celebrated my 10-year anniversary with that. My now husband is very supportive. He's now my business partner with that. We are in the process of expanding the business, putting together a commercial kitchen right now, just doing a lot of things to grow that business. We are expecting our first child in December of this year. We're having a little girl, so very excited about that. It's the first child for both of us. We're 36 years old, so I think it's about that time. But expecting our first child, so we're really excited, we're really happy, we're really blessed. We just closed on our first home together recently, and things have truly turned around for me.
I will say that everybody's desire is not to become an entrepreneur, even though we want to push that. And I do agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, what's in you, really go after it, but that's not everybody's dream, to become an entrepreneur. So I would say if you are one that want to be in a work environment, in a 9-to-5, one thing that we have to, I would say, take into consideration is first, the jobs that we're applying for, make sure we understand the qualifications, use wisdom when we are applying for jobs, understanding, because even piggybacking off of what Sharon said, sometimes we look as if, well, I got all the experience and all they have is a degree. But if that's the requirement, in the company that I want a degree, then we just have to, accept that's just one of the, qualifications in order to be promoted to this position. However, I will say when we work unto the Lord, which He gives us everything that we are even capable of being able to do.
Wow. So
when we go into the workplace, making sure that we're not working unto man, because the Bible even tells us that promotion comes from the Lord. So if we're working and we're really truly there and not playing around, not feeling like, because sometimes we come into the work environment as if, y'all owe me something, and it's like nobody owes us anything. We are in position as well. We are just as important. We are just as smart. We are intelligent. And so sometimes if we didn't have that degree, my experience sometimes in the corporate world, I've never went to college. I didn't step foot in a college door, but I have been promoted to places where people are like, how did she get that position? And so I would just say to, again, understand the qualifications that the company is requiring, and working to the Lord, and pray and ask Him, is this the position that you would have for me? And is this the company that you would have me to grow in? And take it that way. Mm-hmm.
And if you also piggyback what she's saying, as long as you going in and doing your best, they're going to notice you anyway. Yeah. Because even on the job that I have that I contract, I didn't even interview for the job. Mm-hmm. I got the call and she said, can you start tomorrow? And this is one of my old bosses. She knew the potential that I had, and she brought me in to help her with her company. So it's just being who you are, and they're going to see you regardless. You don't have to make it known, and they will see you.
Absolutely.
So, to go from a bad marriage to a wonderful marriage, having a failed bankruptcy, losing everything, to getting it all back and more. Home, having a baby on the way. Life is just truly different. And when I went through all those things, I just didn't see an end. But I'm just thankful because God is so good. He's so amazing to turn it around and for me to get everything back that I lost and more. So I just thank God and all the people that supported me, my support system. And I know that this is not the end, that He has so much more in store for me and for us. So I just want to encourage anybody, any black woman out there, anybody out there, if you've gone through something, or if you're going through something right now and you feel like you don't know what's going to happen, or or you don't know, you feel like you can't get through it, just know that you will get through it. You can get through it. And it's gonna get so much better. So that's my story.
I haven't encountered a lot of misfortune in my life, and maybe I have. And I just haven't had the opportunity to look at it that way. When I hear people's stories, I can say, yeah, I've been there, I've done that. But I never look at that, I always look at the good, because God makes us go through things to be able to persevere, to be able to get to the next level. The abuse, the homelessness, just all of that. I can say those things, and those could be my story, but that's not who I am. I'm not that person. I'm not just the mother who had a son before she was 16. That's not just who I am. Who I am today is what God brought me through. And I am that mother, of course, that, yeah, I can say I had my son at 16, but I didn't drop out of school. I didn't get on drugs. I didn't go out in the street. God showed me what I did, and what I needed to do better. And I believe when you know better, you do better. And so I am that mother. I'm a proud mother. I'm a proud mother to have him at 16, and they've done well. And that's only by the grace of God.
How important is it to you ladies that you're active politically, that you register to vote, that you voice your concerns to government?
Well, to me, it's real important. That was something that my mother taught me. Know who, or who to know. It's not about what you know. It's who you know. And one thing I do pass down to my child is knowing who the senator is, knowing who the mayor is. And whatever is going on in your community or whatever community, you voice that. Get together with some people. Be proactive. Voice what's going on. Okay, y'all don't have new school books at school? Voice it. You're never a closed mouth don't get fed. Right. Open your mouth. Say something. A lot of us, and I can agree with, well, not agree, but I can understand when some people say, well, my voice is not going to get heard anyway. Right. Because they going to cheat, just like they cheated for Bush to get in office, just like they cheated for certain people to get in office. Well, they're just going to cheat. Okay, but just like now, how everything is coming to the forefront, you're not going to do dirt for so long before you get caught. So still voice your opinion, because, we matter. Black lives matter, right? Right. If it matter, we need to first matter to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Matter to each other. Stop cursing at your neighbor. It's a lot of things that go into Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter have to matter to us too.
My dad taught me to be extra, so it's not about what you know, it's not even about who you know, it's who knows you. Because I can say I know Obama all day, but he doesn't know Kamisha Boyd. So what I need to do is I need to put my name out there. I need to get involved in the community, go door to door, say I have an issue with this, do you have an issue with this? And get something started, put your name out there in the community, so therefore when something big does happen, or if you really want to get something done, you do have that support, and people say, oh, I know her. Go to a mayor's campaign or a governor's campaign, or follow their trail to where they're going to be like, oh, I saw her at the last campaign or the last party or the last political party we had, and then get known that way, so that when the time comes, you become that important person as well.
I feel like I've done it all. I've seen it all. I want every woman. I don't know how it is to lose a child, but I do know how it is to lose a loved one, someone I consider my child. If you don't pray, you're gonna be lost. me and my sister, we're the closest ever. And she's behind me 100% with acting and modeling. She's like a little personal assistant to me. And we start programs, groups, you know, for people and sickle cell patients, mothers lost their children. You know, we try to give back because it's someone out there that didn't have the strong mind frame that we had to get through. It's someone who those pills took them out of here, or it's someone who is on that edge, and we've seen it. They're on that edge, and they're about to lose it. And we're right there with God to grab them to say, no, you can still go forward. You can still live again. It gets better with time. You know, we can be there to walk them through that.
It's okay. You can breathe. Let it out. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.